lot of other stuff like MotoGP, BTCC, and sometimes we do some ESB, British Superbikes. We have plenty to offer. We also do a bit of some stuff outside of motorsport, so we might do days out, but we don't do those too often. We do like to keep it to regular chat videos, but as video people, we like to know what our viewers like. So if you always leave a comment below what you would like to do us over the winter, more really, we will do those videos alongside. We will do them in the summer alongside the weekend debriefs and the weekend previews. Don't forget to like and subscribe. It is much appreciated. Hello everybody and welcome to your Turkish Grand Prix weekend debrief. And we had to leave it a day, Charlie, because we needed I think everyone we needed to digest what had happened in what was just an unforgettable race. And joined by Charlie, of course. But Charlie, is it one of the greatest races we've ever seen?
Wow. Welcome everyone to this weekend debrief. Yeah, Jack, can I start with saying what a race this was in Turkey? I actually got up late. I missed the start of the race, but I watched the highlights back, and I tell you what, this was one of the greatest Formula 1 races I've ever seen.
And Charlie,
I have to say, by far away, the best race of the season so far. The rain finally arrived.
It did, Charlie. We've been waiting for it all season, and it came to Lewis Hamilton's rescue. Congratulations. It's an unbelievable achievement that none of us thought could be broken or equalled that record. You know, Charlie, 164 podiums, 96 pole positions, 94 race victories, and now 7 world championships. You can count them. 2008, 2014, 15, 17, 18, 19, and now 2020. And he done it in style, Charlie.
He did. I have to say, Jack, that was the true champion's drive on Sunday. Lewis Hamilton winning that race from 6th on the grid. I did not expect Mercedes to be that strong in the race, given they struggled all weekend with limited track running. But Lewis Hamilton made the strategy work on the intermediates. The one stop worked brilliantly, and yeah, what a result!
And Charlie, is
world champion.
It's pure driver skill to make tyres go 48 laps. I think it was in the end.
Yeah, it was 48 laps.
8 laps. I mean, Bottas was struggling after about 30, I think, on his intermediates, and then he put a new set on. But we're gonna say commiserations on Stroll. You know, amazing job to get pole position, and then when he put that new set of intermediates on, he never seemed to click, Charlie. But we start with going through qualifying. We digest the weekend. We start qualifying. It was raining very hard, and it was inevitable at some point we were probably going to get a delay to the session. We did start the session. Michael Massey thought it was safe. We actually got quite a lot of running in those 10 minutes. But, Charlie, with 6 minutes and 41 seconds remaining in the Q1 session, Michael decided it was just a bit too wet to carry on, and he red flagged the session, and we were under that red flag for a substantial amount of time. I think it was about 50 minutes in the end, Charlie. But as a race director, you don't want to red flag sessions, but sometimes in those situations you don't really have much of a choice. It was getting to a point that cars were spinning off in straights, and
there was no traction, so there was just no. Even the wets could not. The drivers could just struggled with lots of excessive oversteering. Essentially, it was like a skating rink outside. They had no grip.
Charlie, is that the point? Is that the crossing line when drivers are spinning on straights that it starts to become a bit dangerous? You know, and then, so as we said, after about a 50-minute wait, and it seemed like the longest 50 minutes of our lives, but we eventually got there. We did get going again for qualifying 1. We didn't last long. Romain Grosjean spun into the gravel and we were ending up back under a red flag again. That red flag, however, though, didn't last long either, and we managed to finish the session just because Nicholas Latifi spun off on his last lap, Charlie. And now we've got the big discussion point of the weekend. Why did qualifying 2 start when they were still recovering Nicholas Latifi's car, Charlie? I don't think we quite have an explanation to this. But, yeah. It's rather strange, isn't it? Why did they start the session?
I don't know. I mean, I think the marshal should have removed Latifi's Williams off. I know he spun off, I think it was at turn 12 or something. But yeah, I mean, Latifi had a difficult weekend, but I think qualifying they should have definitely have recovered that Williams much quicker before the other drivers all got out for their runs in Q2. I mean, sorry, yeah. And Q2, lots of shocks actually in that session, especially for McLaren and Ferrari.
So yeah, why did the snatch vehicle come out with Q2 still going? We don't, as we said, we don't have an explanation to it. The only thing is we can see the light would have accidentally gone green when the track was still not ready. But anyway, didn't, fortunately on this occasion, didn't have a bad outcome. And the marshals were very quick to get their yellow flags out. So Charlie, we go on into Q3, and it was looking like Perez was going to take provisional pole. In fact, he did take provisional pole. And then on the last gasp, the last shot that Lance Stroll had, he snatched pole position for the Turkish Grand Prix. He started on pole. Unfortunately, he didn't end there. A lot of drivers didn't end where they started after that first corner, Charlie.
What a result, though, for pole position for Lance Stroll in a racing point. Incredible result. That's the first pole for that team since the 2009 Belgian Grand Prix. And that was actually when it was known as Force India. Giancarlo Fisichella.
It probably will be the last for that team as well, Charlie, because as you may know, they're getting rebranded as Aston Martin Racing next year, which I mean is going to be so exciting to watch. And as Charlie, we have the new Formula 1 calendar now. We know that we're going to get 23 races. One still to be decided. But now you've got to say, we've got 17 races. A Mercedes powered car has taken pole position in every single one of the 15 or 17 races so far this season. The one time Mercedes had a hiccup, other people do capitalise. Because it's not often that they get it wrong, Charlie. They did on this occasion in qualifying. They had to rely on their drivers to redeem the team in the race. One of them didn't. He rather lost his race after the first corner. And actually, Charlie, I think I counted, Bottas spun 5 times in that race. Hamilton...
I think it might have been 6, actually.
It might have been 6, Charlie.
Martin Brundle.
But do you know how many times Hamilton spun?
I think it was none.
It was none, Charlie. It was absolutely none.
Bottas spun on the first lap.
Charlie, he won it. After the end of the third lap, Charlie, he was a pit stop behind Lance Stroll. He won it by a pit stop. And you saw the state of that car when it came over the finish line. It looked like it had been through some sort of mud run kind of thing that you do on the
rally stage.
The rally stage, yeah, Charlie. It didn't look like it had the best of time, and those tyres didn't look like they had the best of time either. But
Valtteri Bottas actually finished only 14th. He got lapped by his teammate. How horrific was his weekend?
Charlie, it went from bad to worse, didn't it? And then when we thought it couldn't get any worse after qualifying, it did. After qualifying, Charlie, it only looked that Bottas could go forward. He actually fell backward, didn't he? I'm glad I don't have Bottas in my fantasy Formula 1 team this year. Charlie,
from fantasy land, all was the own Valtteri Bottas. He really struggled to get that car, even on the track pointing in the right direction. He was just wheel spinning everywhere.
But the one driver who got it right, the one driver who made no mistakes, the one driver who won by about 25 seconds in the end, Lewis Hamilton. The one driver, the second driver in Formula 1 history to become a seven-time Formula 1 world champion. And it's really remarkable, Charlie. And to add to Lewis Hamilton's week, he has just been nominated the most influential person of the year. So again, huge congratulations to him. And that is for his work against racial discrimination, Charlie, and using his platform to get that message across. Black Lives Matter, BLM, whatever you want to call it. It's a really important message, and you know, he feels strongly about it. And you know, with the Formula 1 has listened to him. You know, they do the end racism gestures at the start of every single race. But Charlie, it was a special podium, and it's one that we will never ever forget.
It was. I have to say as well, back onto the race, I feel like we're veering off at tangents here, but so second place went the way of Sergio Perez in the Racing Point. Third though, Sebastian Vettel.
Who would have said that, Charlie?
Welcome back to the podium, Seb.
Last corner.
His race was difficult.
Do you know, Charlie, there was only 0.3 seconds between second and third. I mean, Leclerc made a hash of the last corner, really, didn't he? I mean...
Yeah, he ran wide. Perez's tyres were dead, apparently according to his race engineer. He said the tyres are nearly exploding back.
You feel sorry for Charles, Charlie, because he should have got the podium today. And if you listen to his radio message, he's not very happy. Unfortunately, we cannot repeat the words that were said on the radio message. But Charlie, fourth place, you know, it's still a good result for Ferrari. But I think when you should be on the podium, it doesn't seem that good, does it really?
Fifth went, just to clarify the other top 10 positions, fifth went the way of Carlos Sainz in the McLaren. Great result for Sainz there. Sixth place, I believe that went the way of Lando Norris. Just to let you know, Lando Norris finished 8th for McLaren, as all I know at the moment. And of course, so Norris was 8th for McLaren. He also set fastest lap of the race as well. There was also a couple of other drivers that scored points in that race as well. Lance Stroll was actually 9th in the end after starting from pole position. So that was a dreadful race for Stroll in the Racing Point in the end there. And yeah, loads of drivers struggling. Both Alpha Tauris were at the points as well. Both Alpha and Mayos were at the points after starting in the top 10. And Antonio Giovinazzi retired with a mechanical failure, and Kimi Räikkönen was only 15th.
Interestingly, Charlie, the only safety car period we got in that race. I thought we were going to have many more. But I'm afraid that is it for this video. We go to Bahrain next. We will see you on the next video. Until then, bye bye.